Biden's campaign, his PR firm, was working with California's Secretary of State to censor Judicial Watch. We also have another federal court hearing over a major censorship case we brought against the California Secretary of State's office for their causing YouTube to censor yours truly, well, actually Judicial Watch. I was just talking on the Judicial Watch video, and the video was about election integrity issues, and the censorship occurred just before the 2020 election. So not only, in my view, is it a violation of our First Amendment rights, that's the allegation in the lawsuit, but it is election interference. And the California Secretary of State's office, Judicial Watch uncovered through Freedom of Information Act requests, and frankly other entities, it looks like, were doing everything they can to suppress any criticism of the changes in election procedures and the desire for election integrity in the run-up to the 2020 election. They were going to Twitter, they were going to YouTube, they had all ins, and has been exposed in the Twitter files, all sorts of connections with all sorts of, all the big tech media companies to censor Americans. And specifically, Judicial Watch found in these documents produced to us by the California Secretary of State that Judicial Watch's video was specifically targeted. And this is what we found out in, and this is why we sued. So this is the background. In September of 2020, Judicial Watch posted on our YouTube channel a video titled "Election Integrity Crisis: Dirty voter rolls, ballot harvesting, and mail-in ballot risk!" exclamation point. The 26-minute video featured Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton, me, discussing the vote-by-mail processes, changes to state election procedures, ballot collection, sometimes referred to as ballot harvesting, and states' failures to clean up their voter rolls, among other topics. The complaint states that Fitton's comments, this is the lawsuit we filed, and we describe why we filed it, was informed by successful lawsuits brought by Judicial Watch against Los Angeles County and the Secretary of State's office in 2017 to compel the county and state to comply with the National Voter Registrations Act voter list maintenance requirements. For instance, in June 2019, Judicial Watch was informed that Los Angeles County had sent notices to 1.6 million inactive voters. In fact, we were just informed last, was it in February now? Yeah, in February we announced and had it confirmed to us by the California Secretary of State's office in Los Angeles County that indeed they did remove those names from the rolls. So not only did they begin the process of removal, but the removal has happened, a remarkable historic settlement. Prior to the California settlement agreement, Judicial Watch estimated that national census data and voter roll information showed that there were 3.5 million more names in various county voter rolls nationwide than there were citizens of voting age. So, just straightforward analysis of the issue of dirty names on the voter rolls. And the general concern is that dirty election rolls can mean dirty elections. It increases the opportunity for fraud. That's why federal law requires states to take reasonable steps to clean up the rolls, and that's why we sue when we find states aren't doing so. Records show the Office of Election Cybersecurity communicated with YouTube and Google, well, Google owns YouTube, to have Judicial Watch's video taken down. And these are the smoking guns here. On September 24, 2020, the social media coordinator over in this office emailed civic outreach at google.com and copied 4 YouTube employees with the subject line, "Report Video Election Integrity Crisis," listing Judicial Watch's title for the video. In the email, the government official wrote, "Hi YouTube reporting team, I am reporting the following video because it misleads community members about elections or other civic processes and misrepresents the safety and security of mail-in ballots. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter." And then the representative from YouTube writes, "Thanks for reaching out. We will look into this." Later that same day, Judicial Watch noticed the video had been taken down. So she sends the email on September 24th. The next day, they respond and the email gets taken down. And then on September 27th, they confirm, helpfully, that they did what they asked. Circling back on this, thank you for raising this content to our attention. This has been removed from the platform for violating our policies. Please do not hesitate to reach out if there are any other questions or concerns you may have. So that's a violation of our First and 14th Amendment rights. You can't cause our videos to be censored. Smoking gun documents show California government officials who were being advised. By the way, the Biden PR operation was part of this California Secretary of State operation to censor us. They were using the same PR firm to, quote, advise them on this. So Biden's campaign, his PR firm, was working with California's Secretary of State to censor Judicial Watch. So there's no doubt this gang was involved in causing YouTube to censor our video just before the 2020 election. This egregious government censorship and election interference violated our civil rights and your civil rights if you're a Judicial Watch supporter, I would submit. And our lawsuit seeks to stop and expose the growing corruption of leftist government officials colluding with big tech allies to attack the free speech rights of American citizens. So we have a big hearing on this next week. The state of California says our case shouldn't proceed. They filed what is called a motion to dismiss. They're suggesting they have a government free speech right to tell companies to censor American citizens. I mean, how do you like that for Orwellian logic? And obviously we disagree, so the court's going to have to decide. We highlighted in the briefs opposing that outrageous legal position by the California Secretary of State's office that they're violating our First Amendment rights again by misusing of their authority under the California law with the intention to interfere with our speech by A, monitoring our speech, falsely assessing our speech as misleading, ignoring an express limitation on their authority while giving an overly broad interpretation to so-called other authority, and using their close working relationship with and dedicated pathways at YouTube to have our video removed within approximately 24 hours of their request. California government officials don't have the right to censor any American, especially on sensitive election integrity debates just before a presidential election. California's censorship of Judicial Watch is a violation of the First Amendment, pure and simple. So we'll see what the court does. Hopefully the court allows the case to proceed. As you may know, it's kind of tough to sue these big tech entities or frankly the governments that are behind the censorship in court. I think this is a great case though. It's pretty direct. We've got the document showing the government asked YouTube to take our video down, and they did. I mean, that is censorship 101 in terms of what's not supposed to happen under our Constitution. And so we hope the federal court judge allows it to go forward. The hearing, I think, is on Thursday, so maybe I can give you an update as to how it goes. It's sometimes the judges at these hearings make decisions on the bench and they tell you what they're going to do. Usually they just take everything, quote, under advisement. They leave the bench and then issue a ruling subsequently. This civil rights lawsuit is part of a massive effort by Judicial Watch to both expose and stop the worst assaults on the First Amendment, I would submit, in American history. There has been no other scandal related to the First Amendment and suppression of free speech in which so many Americans have been affected. Millions of Americans to this day are being suppressed as a result of censorship, with the Biden administration pressing big tech to censor Americans. You have these big tech companies not censoring Americans because they violated any rules that are sensible under their own content policies, but because they're being pressured. The Twitter files have shown that government is behind much of the censorship that you still are suffering on platforms like Facebook and Google, etc. And that's one of the reasons they've been so interested in destroying Elon Musk, because he's committed to freer speech on Twitter. He's exposed this corruption in more direct ways and followed, frankly, Judicial Watch's lead in transparency, which is quite remarkable. So they can't take free speech. They don't like free speech. They hate free speech. They oppose it, and they're explicit about it. When they say they oppose misinformation and disinformation, what that means is they oppose free speech and content and facts and figures and opinions on public policy debates that they want suppressed. And it's happening now, and it's got to stop. And you, dear viewer, are a victim, because when Judicial Watch is censored, and we've been censored 6 ways to Sunday. I've been censored on Twitter, that's stopped. Judicial Watch has been censored on Twitter. Judicial Watch has been censored on YouTube repeatedly. We've been censored and repeatedly have been censored on Facebook or suppressed. I was banned from TikTok. Speaking of TikTok, I've been banned from TikTok. I don't know why. I've joked it wasn't because of my dance moves. I don't dance, at least for TikTok. It's because of the content. And they just banned me. I hope this Judicial Watch federal civil rights lawsuit, I hope it moves forward because it could provide a way out nationally from this censorship morass we're in, and finally get the government back under control and stop making it an enemy of free speech and the people. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.